Here's a crazy question a lot of people wonder about: why don't airlines just give passengers parachutes so they can jump if the plane has a problem? But before we dive in, if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Alright, let's get into it. Problem number 1, commercial planes fly way too high. Most airplanes cruise at 10,000 to 12,000 meters. At that altitude, there's barely any oxygen. A person can lose consciousness in seconds. Temperatures drop to minus 50 degrees Celsius. You'd freeze before the parachute even opens. Wind speeds are extreme, strong enough to injure you or even break bones. For a safe jump, the plane needs to be at 3,000 meters or lower. So yeah. The altitude alone makes parachute jumping basically impossible. Problem number 2, the plane's speed is terrifying. A commercial airplane flies at around 900 kilometers per hour. If they try to open the door at that speed, the pressure drops instantly, creating a massive suction force that pulls everything out. Hurricane-level winds would blast into the cabin, destroying everything inside. A parachute can't even open at that speed, it would instantly tear apart. Which means using a parachute in mid-flight is 100% impossible. Problem number 3, passengers aren't trained. Using a parachute requires specialized training. You also need serious physical fitness to handle the jump. You must know the correct body position when falling. Opening the parachute demands precise timing and technique. Landing safely requires control, balance, and proper maneuvering. But inside a plane you have kids, elderly people, sick passengers, terrified people. Some passengers can't even open their seatbelt properly. So expecting everyone to use a parachute is completely unrealistic. Problem number 4, getting out of the plane is almost impossible. For 200 passengers to jump out, the exit door is way too small. There isn't nearly enough time for everyone to get out. The cabin would explode into total chaos. People would crash into each other and get seriously hurt trying to exit at the same moment. A mass evacuation from a flying airplane is 100% impossible in real life. Number 5, planes are safer than you think. The chance of a plane accident is incredibly low, about 1 in millions of flights. Airlines spend massive money improving and upgrading their engines. Every plane is loaded with backup safety systems that activate automatically if something goes wrong. Pilots train for thousands of hours to handle every possible scenario. Every flight has emergency landing plans ready at all times, because staying inside the plane is far safer than jumping out of it. Part 2. So why are airplanes one of the safest ways to travel? A plane is built with a full backup system that keeps it running even if one part fails. It has 2 engines, and even if one shuts down, the plane can still fly safely with the other. The aircraft has 3 hydraulic systems, and it only needs one to control everything. It also has 3 electrical systems, making a total power failure almost impossible. The plane uses 2 flight computers that work together and back each other up. Even the navigation system has 2 completely independent versions, so the route never fails. And the radar is doubled too, 1 primary and 1 backup. For a real disaster to happen, every one of these systems would need to fail. And that's almost impossible. Airplane Part 2, so why you shouldn't worry if one engine fails. If one engine stops working, don't panic. The plane is literally designed to fly on a single engine. At that moment, the pilot switches to single engine operation, which means he increases the power on the second engine to compensate. He keeps the aircraft completely stable in the air. And then he lands safely at the nearest airport without any issue. Planes like the A320 and Boeing 787 can fly for hours on just one engine. What if both engines fail? If both engines stop working, which is extremely rare, the plane does not fall like a rock. It switches into something called glide mode. In glide mode, the airplane can still travel up to 180 kilometers with no engines at all. And the pilot looks for a safe place to land, like an airport, a highway, or even water. This has happened many times, and pilots pulled it off successfully. The insane training pilots go through. Every 6 months, pilots enter a full flight simulator. First scenario, a complete engine failure. Second scenario, a sudden loss of cabin pressure. Third scenario, a fire breaking out in one of the aircraft systems. Fourth scenario, flying through severe storms. Fifth scenario, a total electrical failure. Sixth scenario, practicing emergency landings. Seventh scenario, landing the plane with no landing gear, meaning the pilot sees these situations 50 times in training before they ever happen in real life. Emergency landings are much safer than you think. An emergency landing is actually safer than most people imagine. The plane behaves just like a car with no brakes. It reduces its speed, lowers the landing gear, and touches down gently. Even if there's a problem with the wheels, there's a system that prevents the aircraft from tipping over. The Hudson Miracle, the perfect example. The Hudson River plane had both engines fail, yet the pilot landed it on the water, without a single passenger dying. The Hudson incident is the ultimate proof that staying inside the plane is 1,000 times safer than jumping out. No matter how bad things look, a trained pilot knows exactly how to protect everyone on board, and in the end, everything is in God's hands, but the safest chance of survival is always inside the airplane. Conclusion: in short, parachutes are not suitable for commercial airplanes because of altitude, speed, cabin pressure, lack of passenger training, difficulty in exiting the aircraft. That's why jumping is far more dangerous than staying inside the plane. And one last question for you: did you ever expect airplanes to be this safe? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this content, give it a like, subscribe, and see you in the next video.